Another day, another wearable test. Today we're doing it on the Apple Watch Ultra, and I'm not in New York City. I'm still in Maui, which I came to for a work trip, the Qualcomm Snapdragon Summit, but that has ended. And so I'm gonna stay a little bit later. One, because I need to not just travel for work and maybe tack on some days for myself on some of these trips, trying to be better about that, but also so we can test this watch in a place that's a bit more suited for it than, the city. So we're gonna explore a little bit while we test out this watch, but first things first. Fancy seeing you guys here.
Pleasure to be fancy.
Coffee, check. And welcome to Kihei Cafe, where I accidentally ran into a bunch of other people who happen to have stayed after that work event. You might know some of them. And it's oddly appropriate to run into these guys here because some of us were here a few years ago together. My buddy Joshua Vergara here introduced us to it one of the first years we came here for this event. The best way to describe it is like a greasy spoon diner done Hawaiian style.
You're very cute. I don't like you at 5 a.m., but you're very cute right now.
It's deliciously heavy stuff like biscuits and gravy and Belgian waffles, but also loco moco, which is a traditional Hawaiian style breakfast of eggs, a beef patty, think of like a hamburger patty basically, over rice with brown gravy. Or get those waffles or pancakes with bananas and macadamia nuts, a local product here in Hawaii, and cover it in syrup. Or the more local choice of like a condensed milk coconut syrup. It's delicious, but your cardiologist will be very upset with you. Okay, now with this Apple Watch Ultra, Apple is really going after extreme athletes, they call it. There are three main extreme sports that Apple is targeting with this watch: running, diving, and hiking. And to drive this point home further, when you purchase one, you actually get the choice between three different new bands. We have the Alpine Loop, which is the one meant for hiking, and it has this hook and loop design to keep it attached to you when you're running around. Also, it's very light. I have one complaint with it though. If you use a metal laptop and you are typing, the metal buckle can often scratch the laptop, so keep that in mind. Then we also have the Trail Loop, which is the one for running. It's also good at mitigating sweat and it's very stretchy. And finally, we have the Ocean Loop, which is really just for diving, and it's made from a fluoroelastomer rubber. It's made to wear over a thick wetsuit, and honestly though, it feels weird. And I would only suggest this if you are actively going to dive with it. Now the watch only comes in one size of 49 millimeters versus the 41 and 45 of the Series 8 watch. And we have a flat front crystal display with a titanium lip. Now that titanium lip comes up along the edges, and this is to prevent you from scratching the glass, and you'll hit the titanium instead, which is much stronger. And you won't end up like I did with my Series 8, scratching the edges. Now that display gets up to 2,000 nits. It's 1,000 on the Series 8, and it has night mode for easier viewing using the Wayfinder face, which we'll talk about later. And as mentioned, it has a titanium case compared to the Series 8's aluminum or stainless steel that you could choose from. Titanium being stronger than both of those and also a lot lighter. And other than that, design-wise, you have a much larger crown so you can use it with gloves on. Everything is kind of protected a little bit more, and we now have an extra button called the Action button, which we'll talk about later. Now, while the watch is very sturdy because of that titanium casing and all the things I just mentioned, you might not like the bands, or maybe you would want to protect your iPhone that is paired to the watch. Well, today's sponsor can help, CASETIFY. For the newest iPhone 14 bounce case series, they engineered an X design with embedded EcoShock technology to provide extra drop cushioning on the backplate for the ultimate 360 protection. And because of this, their bounce case series has drop protection up to 21.3 feet and 6 times the military spec standard. The bounce corners were actually inspired by Air Max sneaker culture and provide added rigidity to the case, and has been dropped 156 times to ensure that the protection doesn't wear off, making your iPhone able to keep up with your Apple Watch Ultra. And lastly, they do all of this in a super thin case, which I always appreciate, and it's made from 65% recycled and plant-based materials, and are even partially made from upcycled phone cases. So it's a case made from cases. Very meta. They also have prints and artist collabs, as well as a custom builder that you can use online, and they have a built-in MagSafe magnet to ensure that they work well with all of your MagSafe accessories. Besides cases though, they also have a ton of new watch bands that work well with the new Apple Watch Ultra. If you want to check out their cases, head to the link in the description below, and thanks again to CASETIFY for sponsoring this video.
Stealing my crap. Thinks I don't know.
So nothing. Your destination is on the right.
What you gotta do when you put the top down. We made it!
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, it's so cool. Made it to the top, and there's a 25-degree difference in temperature, so I changed into pants, and I was good enough to bring a couple of layers. So we're gonna do that now.
We are small little ants on a big piece of water that is circular and an iron core. Sorry.
Deep. Welcome to Haleakala, which means the House of the Sun. And it gets its name because of the Polynesian legend that the demigod Maui, for whom the island is named, wanted to help his mother Haina, who complained that the days weren't long enough to sun-dry her kapa, which is like a bark cloth. So he went up to the crater here where the sun lived and came up from in the morning, and he ensnared it in a lasso. He then made a deal with the sun that he would let it go if it agreed to move more slowly across the sky for half the year to lengthen the days so his mother would have more time for drying her cloth. And thus, seasons were born. The summit of this dormant volcano is over 10,000 feet above the sea and takes up 75% of the landmass of Maui. The other 25% is from the mountain to the west, known as the very descriptive West Maui Mountains. The giant crater here, though, caused by previous eruptions, the last one was determined to be in 1790. So depending on how you look at that, we're good, or, we're due for one. Now, before that potentially happens, let's talk about some of the more unique outdoor features of the Apple Watch Ultra. Firstly, we have existing features like we do with the rest of the Apple Watch series, including ECG, sleep tracking, blood oxygen, fall detection, etc. There's also temperature sensing for things like ovulation, which is new to the Series 8 as well, and high-frequency gyroscope and sensors for crash detection and emergency SOS, which is also new to the 8 series and the Watch Ultra. Now, something that's different on this watch is that it has dual-band GPS, so it has the L1 and the L5 bands, versus the Series 8's L1 only. The idea with this is that it just makes the GPS a lot more accurate, especially when you're in places like, say, a volcano, where you might not have the best signal. The watch itself is rated for negative 20 degrees Celsius all the way to 55 degrees Celsius. We have dual speakers that get a lot louder than the Watch 8, and a 3-mic array with beamforming, so you can be heard a little bit easier from the watch as well. The watch is also tested to a bit higher of a standard, including military spec 810H, which is just a basic durability test, as well as EN 13319 certified, which is a standard specifically for the function and safety requirements for depth gauges, which this watch also now has, that can provide real-time depth up to 40 meters, as well as provide water temperature readings. Now, Apple showed off an app during their presentation called Oceanic Plus, and essentially it turns your watch into a dive computer for recreational diving down to that 40 meters. I couldn't test it because it isn't out yet, but the website says that it's coming in fall, so technically they have until December 21st, I suppose. Either way, the idea here is that just like how iPad minis have actually replaced a lot of dedicated aviation computers, Apple would like this to replace dive computers. Now, even though it only provides real-time depth up to 40 meters, the watch is actually rated down to 100 meters versus the 50 meters of the Watch 8. And we have the action button, which I mentioned earlier. Now, fun fact, it's actually orange because traditionally dive watches have orange elements like this because it's one of the last colors to disappear as you get deeper in water. Now, you can actually customize this button to do a lot of different things. I actually have it set to a workout. So when I push the button, it automatically opens up the workouts that I usually do. And it's just a quick way to get that started. But you can also use it to start and stop your stopwatch, drop a waypoint when you're using the GPS and the trail features. You can use it to start a dive, turn on the flashlight, use it as a shortcut for many other apps and actions, etc. And lastly, we also have an 86 decibel SOS siren. you hear that from over there? Yeah. Did you hear that from there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It works. What's your step? Thank you. Guys, I knew this moment would come. Ready? Oh no. I saved my cinnamon roll. Oh. Anybody want some?
Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. This is, we all appreciate, oh God, no, it's too much.
That's a lot of cinnamon roll.
Thank you, no. Welcome to Three's Bar and Grill, just down the street from where we're all staying in the town of Kihei. We were wandering around town actually and just kind of stumbled upon it, but it turns out that it was featured in diners, drive-ins, and dives for its ramen and beer can chicken. So I got the chicken. I have to say, it's very good. All right, while we're all hanging out here, let's talk about the battery and the pricing of the Watch Ultra. So the battery is 76% larger than the largest Apple Watch Series 8, the 45mm, and because of that, Apple says it's rated for 36 hours of normal use and 60 hours on low power mode. Personally though, I've been getting even longer, depending on if I have a workout in the day or not, but on average, easily getting 2 days and sometimes 3 even. Other viewers are actually also all reporting similar numbers, so that's pretty amazing. Now, there is only one SKU, and so there is no Wi-Fi only model, and all of them have cellular capabilities, but of course, you don't have to activate it. I didn't, for example. But it costs $799 compared to the $429 of the 45mm Wi-Fi only aluminum Series 8 and $529 of the 45mm Wi-Fi and cellular aluminum Series 8. But it's only $100 more than the stainless steel Wi-Fi only model and $50 more than the cellular and Wi-Fi stainless steel model, which is much less actually than people were expecting it to cost, and kind of makes it a much more appealing option for someone who's already looking at the stainless steel models and wanted to maybe upgrade to titanium plus all the other features we just mentioned. Okay, calling it a night. And first, the battery. This is my battery usage for today. And that includes the hike that we did. And it's pretty standard for the kind of battery life that I'm getting. As I said, I'm getting at least 2 days and sometimes 3. There you go. Now, obviously Apple is kind of going after the Garmin's of the world and the Suntos. There are specific watch manufacturers that hardcore athletes tend to gravitate towards. And so I think Apple here obviously is trying to go, well, you know, a lot of those people, maybe they use iPhones, maybe they would like a smartwatch that does a bunch of other things, but is as good at these things as one of those. And so that's what they're trying to do. And they're probably onto something with that actually. My friend David Imel actually did a video for MKBHD, which shows some of these extreme athletes talking about just how much they actually would love if Apple made a version of this after they heard the announcement. And that, coupled with the fact that people thought this was gonna be $1,000 when it came out, and it's actually $799, which compared to those other brands is a kind of a deal in a way. People have been pretty positive about it. But the other thing that I think is interesting is one, it looks better in real life than it does in the renders and the photos and stuff. And even a friend of mine, when I was at a wedding recently, saw it and said as much, but he likes the way it looks. He likes the fact that it has much better battery life, as we've attested to, and it's just a bigger watch. And so he kind of wanted to buy it and ended up actually doing so. So there's a whole other market here where I think if you just want a larger watch with better battery life and you're already in the iOS ecosystem and have the money to spend, then it's not a bad option for you either. But there you go. You guys let me know in the comments below. Always appreciate hearing from you guys what you think about the watch. Would you buy an Ultra even if you are not an extreme athlete? If you are, do you like it? Why? Always appreciate hearing from you guys, obviously. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed our little exploring of Maui with the watch. I'll leave links below to some of my friends that were in this video if you guys want to go check them out if you're not already familiar with their work. And thanks again to CASETIFY for sponsoring this video. I'll leave a link below to what they're up to. But after all that, it's been a very long day and I am going to bed. Good night. Just gonna be real. You don't have to talk. Or you can't talk, and I'm just not gonna use it for you.
Wow. You're not going to use the things that I talk about?
No.
Do you not care about what I say?
Never.
Does the internet not care about what I say?
Probably not.
Damn, I might as well kill myself.
Oh.
What's the point?
It's getting real dark.
Millions of people don't
So
want to
if you're
hear what I
wondering,
say.
if you're wondering why I don't use your audio, it's this right here.